Hey guys, Manga here bringing a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be talking about the 40th Dragon Ball Anniversary collaboration summon banner that is coming out tomorrow with the 5 exclusive manga units. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth about these characters. I know a lot of people are in very different camps in terms of whether they like these units or not, and what they like about them and what they don't like. I think, to be honest, I've said, like, I wasn't a huge fan of the animations being, like, still frame with no sort of actual animation within them, which I know other games have done, so other people as well I've seen have been disappointed. But, I mean, I've been link leveling the AGL Goku that we got for free as the login card, and I will say that, like, it's grown on me a little bit, so it's something that is still not super hype for me, like the way they've done it, but I still think it's very cool. I think the cards themselves are a very cool idea and a cool little collector's thing, and that is kind of the big thing, right, is that these cards are very much a collector item. The private server showcases have started to come out for these characters, and they are not particularly great. So in terms of summoning for these characters, if you're somebody who is a newer player, or you're lacking some of the stronger teams and you struggle with like the difficult end game events, summoning for these characters is probably unlikely to allow you to beat tougher events that you have not yet been able to beat. Because yeah, these guys are not terrible in any stretch, but I guess it's kind of funny that they're sort of taking up the spot that the Heroes stuff would have usually come out, and the Heroes characters were very often undertuned for the meta, or at least, usable in the meta, but then as soon as the difficulty went up even just a little bit, they became essentially unusable. And these guys feel like they are kind of in a similar boat, so they are very much collector item cards. So when we talk about summon or skip, it does really come down to like whether or not you really want these collector cards. It's very much, people play this game with very different mindset. Like, some people do play Dokkan as a collection thing and they want to have all the things possible. Some people obviously just play it a lot more casually, or even if you do play regularly, like you're logging in every day doing your dailies and stuff like that, some people don't necessarily care about the collection aspect and having every single card. They just want to have good strong teams with characters that they like, with animations that they like, and then being able to beat the tough events that come out to get the rewards and all that kind of stuff, and they just don't really care about the collection aspect. And I would say that if you're one of those people where you're not going to wake up a year from now, 2 years from now, and be like, man, I really wish I had the manga cards in my box, because they never came back and I had no other way to get them, even though I would probably have never used them. I'm really annoyed that I didn't get them when they came out. Now, if you're one of those people that, you just don't care about that, then I would honestly say that there's probably not a huge amount of reason to summon on the banner. Now, the benefits of the banner, I will say, if you want to try and collect some of these cards, like if you don't care about rainbowing them, but you just want a copy of each one in your box for that collection purpose, it's only 30 stones to summon on the banner, and you get 3 copies guaranteed in the multi of the manga cards. So obviously you don't know which ones you're going to get, but you get 3 of the manga cards. And whilst it's not been confirmed, I assume this is very much like the Heroes banner setup, where not only will you get those 3 guaranteed units as the last 3 SSRs of the multi, but it's also very possible that you just could get another random bonus one as well, like in the slots for like 1 to 7, because 8, 9 and 10 are going to be the 3 guaranteed characters. But in the 1 to 7 like slots of the multi, you could also get other copies of the manga characters, which would obviously be very, very cool. And of course, we also have exchange 24 40th anniversary special coin for a character. So we saw that in the data download, right? A different kind of coin, essentially is the pity coin for this banner. So with it being 30 stones per multi, that means you'll get 6 coins for every multi. 24 of them you can then exchange for a manga character. That means you only have to do 4 multis on the banner, and then you get a coin to pick one of the characters. So like I said, if you don't care about rainbowing them, if you just want to have a copy of each of them in your box for that collection purpose, within the 120 stones it will take you to get to the coin, chances are you will pull I would say at least, right, 4 of the different characters, and then you can use the coin to get the one that you didn't pull, and then you will have all 5. Now, obviously, it's all RNG at the end of the day. You could get unlucky and literally get the same card 3 times at the end of your multi as the 3 guaranteed copies, but chances are, for most people, I would imagine, if you do the 120 stones and then have access to using the coin once as well, you should hopefully be able to get at least 1 copy of all 5 of the cards. And then of course it's up to you whether you want to get dupes, whether you want to go for the rainbow, because this is the big thing as well. No one really knows at this point 100% whether these cards will ever come back or not. So that's the other thing you have to be wary of as well. Like, for people that go ham to summon these guys, and don't even necessarily have to go ham depending on your luck, but people that go all in to summon, to rainbow all these guys, we could then find out that, like, next November, depending on whatever kind of celebration they do then, whether it be something else, crossover or whatever, that these units do actually come back, and you didn't need to go out of your way to get them rainbowed straight away off of their first banner. But unfortunately, we just don't know whether that will be the case or not. So unfortunately, there's no real way to advise on that. So one other thing I thought we would do is just take a quick look at the characters again, just to go over exactly what I was talking about with these guys. So the interesting thing about these characters is they all have the leader skill. All allies key 2, HP 150, attack and defense 100% when the team includes both super and extreme classes. Then an additional 1 key and 70% stats when the team includes all 5 types. So it's essentially designed so that you run them all together. And then that leader skill is 3 key, 220% to HP, and then 170 to attack and defense. But obviously you can fit them, you could fit other characters into that team build as well. There are, of course, only the 5 typings, so whilst that does include space for the free-to-play Goku, you can technically run any other character on the team as well, and it would still fit under the leader skill. And then obviously the units can fit into other teams on their own or without each other anyway. So the Piccolo is a character who he gets his entrance animation when there's a world tournament enemy or another world tournament ally, or when Goku is an enemy or an ally on the team when he first enters the battlefield. All of these guys have 40 turn special abilities. One of them for all of them is all allies attack and defense 40% for 40 turns, and then Piccolo gets 40% damage reduction. Then he has some base stats and 20% damage reduction. If there's an ally or enemy whose name includes Goku, he gets an additional super. When he receives an attack, he gets 150% attack and defense. Against one enemy, his attack's effective against all types, and for each attack received, which is infinite, he gets attack and defense 16%. So, I mean, honestly, this guy could be relatively decent on some of these. I mean, the problem is the Giant Form Piccolo Jr. and like 23rd World Tournament Goku, they don't count as DB Saga. So he's on very few categories. Like the World Tournament team isn't exactly a crazy team. He's got a bunch of these other categories as well, but for like having a World Tournament ally, which he needs to have, yeah, it's going to be a little bit. I mean, he's on Earthbred Fighters, I guess. Giant Form. I mean, the like Kid Goku that becomes a Giant Ape that I think is in World Tournament isn't very good. So yeah, it's a little bit sus for getting the right like categories and everything for him, unfortunately. But he does seem like he could be a pretty solid slot 1 tank with those abilities in play. I mean, I guess the 23rd World Tournament Goku and Piccolo Jr. are probably going to easy A sometime within the next year, but this guy could be interesting. Like, as long as you're getting his intro and he takes a bunch of hits in the first turn, like his defense should be pretty good on top of 60% damage reduction, but he has no guard or anything. And his super attack is to raise defense for 3 turns. So he'll have extra defense on his second appearance as well. So he could be okay, but he's just very limited in the setups that he can be run on. Then we have the Vegeta, who needs a World Tournament or Saiyan Saga enemy, or a World Tournament or Saiyan Saga ally. So Saiyan Saga ally, not as bad, I guess. Saiyan Saga, obviously a category that does need some more buffs. We got some interesting things recently, like the Int Yamcha Easy A, that's still relatively decent. But this guy gives the 40% support for 40 turns and then has 40% crit chance. He has a built-in medium crit, so he has 70% crit usually, gets a guaranteed additional super. When there's an enemy whose name includes Goku, he has guard, So that could be pretty good for some events, right? Especially as we get new blue zones and things like that, where we do have Goku enemies. Him having guard could be pretty useful. Then he gets 100% extra stats when he attacks. He has 40% damage reduction and gets 100% attack and defense when he receives a super. Although I believe, because it says 1, it's only the first time he receives a super he gets 40% damage reduction. But then he does get 100% attack and defense up for each super that he does receive. And whenever guard is activated, he gets extra stats permanently as well. So, I mean, against a Goku enemy, you put him in slot 1, he takes a bunch of hits, his guard activates each time, then obviously he gets a bunch of permanent stat increases. Like, the interesting thing is a lot of people have talked about these guys being like festival units, but obviously they lose their 40 turn passive after a certain point, but a lot of them do have these infinite build-up things. So like Vegeta, depending on how many times he's able to get hit, he could build up a lot, but remember he only guards when there's a enemy or ally whose name includes Goku. It doesn't say on the rotation though, so I guess as long as there's a Goku on the team for your festival team, then it should work, I suppose. And then Piccolo's was for each attack received, so that's fine for him as well. Frieza needs a Saiyan Saga or Planet Namek Saga enemy or ally, which, you know, a lot of people speculating like Namek Saga could be part of the next anniversary or another big celebration upcoming in 2026, because we still need a proper good Dokkan Fest final form Frieza, another Goku transforming into Super Saiyan. I mean, it's been a while since we've had it, so that would be pretty cool to get a Namek celebration with the actual big heavy hitters in it. And his entrance animation gives him the 40 turn support and then 40% dodge. And he already has medium chance to dodge, so with his intro he has 70% dodge for 40 turns. When there's an enemy or ally whose name includes Goku, he gets an extra 10%, so he actually has 80% dodge, and he has 10% damage reduction. Before receiving an attack within the turn, he will get a guaranteed crit and damage reduction of 40%. So that's interesting, because it means if he's in slot 2, he gets a guaranteed crit. If he's in slot 1, the first attack that he takes, he has an extra 40% damage reduction. It's kind of interesting, because that means he has 50% damage reduction, but he also has 80% chance to dodge. So he could be kind of good in slot 1 if he gets a team that actually works for him. Because then after he dodges an attack, he then gets 2 additional supers. And for every attack evaded, he's getting attack and defense 25, or is that 26%? So if you get lucky and like you put him in slot 1 on a turn and he gets like 3 or 4 dodges, like he could get some pretty good build up. And then he's doing a couple of extra supers guaranteed, which his super greatly raises attack for 1 turn. So he's not getting any extra defense or anything like that, but obviously he's then going to hit a lot harder. So that works out quite nicely. Like, some of the cards look like they could be decent from just looking at their passives. The big problem with them is their low stats compared to other characters, which is always a problem that the Heroes units had as well. But like Frieza's one, in terms of reading their kits and what they can do on their ideal setups, like Frieza seems like one of the best ones. He does also seal. So if we get a good team for him to be run on, he could be really good. Then we've got the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. This guy feels like the most disappointing to me. He just gets orb changing for 40 turns, and then he's a nuker. So he changes a bunch of orbs. If you've got an ally whose name includes Goku, he changes some other orbs as well. So he can make a lot of tech orbs, and then he gets attack and defense 10% per orb obtained. If you get 5 or more orbs, he has damage reduction and an additional with a great chance to become a super. If you get 8 orbs, he has extra damage reduction and a guaranteed additional super. And for every super attack performed, he gets attack and defense 35%. So if you get good RNG and you get a good orb change and he actually does like 3 or 4 supers in that first turn, then on his second turn he could be looking pretty good. But the problem is, like, if you get bad orb change and like the first additional from his passive is only a normal, then he's going to be a lot slower off of the mark and potentially not look as good. It's the problem with any unit that is a nuker, is that you're kind of always at the mercy of the RNG of like orb changing and stuff like that. But he could work out to be somewhat decent. I think because he's a nuker and he's so RNG related, he has the potential to either be really good or just really disappointing. But I think from reading what some of the other characters are doing, like you think about Frieza, 70% dodge, could go slot 1 with that bit of damage reduction, like, and then compare it to this guy where on like a bad orb turn he's not really doing much at all. then he feels a little bit disappointing. But on the turn where you are getting 8 orbs and he does multiple supers and then has like 50% damage reduction, he should be pretty decent. His super attack does greatly raise defense as well. It's attack and defense for 1 turn. So if he does super like 4 times, he's getting a 50% raise from his super attack effect, and he's getting a 35% raise from his passive as well. So if he supers like 4 times in 1 turn, he could actually go up to some pretty big numbers, but obviously it's something that we'll have to wait and see. And then lastly, we have the Boo. Boo gets an additional super, as long as with his allies support for 40 turns. He has a high chance to dodge. He has the heals with candy orbs, which isn't super useful in most things. When there's an enemy or ally whose name includes Goku, he has a high chance to crit and 40% damage reduction. And then when attacking with 12 or more ki, he gets a bunch of extra attack and defense and has a great chance for 150 extra attack and a high chance for 150 extra attack. And then for every attack received or evaded, he gets 39% extra defense. So in certain situations, he could be looking okay. He has like 50% dodge, 40% damage reduction. He can get a couple of supers off in a turn, and his super attack is raising attack and defense for 1 turn, and it also attacks all enemies with a high chance to stun. So like after getting a couple of supers off, his defense could be okay, and then he gets 39% for every attack he receives or dodges. So it could be okay, but he needs an Android Cell Saga or Boo Saga enemy or ally in order to get his intro. Gohan needed a Namek Saga or Android Cell Saga ally. So obviously their passives are meant to include a bunch of the other manga units, so that if you are running them together, you're getting all of their stats. It does hurt them for like other teams, because like this Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, if you want to run him on like a Power Beyond Super Saiyan team or a youth team or something like that, having another Namek Saga or Android Cell Saga character isn't necessarily something that you're going to want to do. Same with Boo. I guess he has Boo Saga ally though, so you're going to be running him with other Boos, so that's fine for him. Frieza, obviously with the Namek Saga characters, as long as we get like a good new Namek Saga Frieza, then he could still fit onto like Wicked Bloodline teams and stuff like that, as long as there's a Namek Saga Frieza. I mean, currently we do have the AGL Full Power Frieza with his EZA, who's okay. And then yeah, for Vegeta, World Tournament or Saiyan Saga, so you can't just be throwing him on like pure Saiyan or Vegeta family teams. And then the Piccolo again is only World Tournament, which is probably the most awkward of the bunch. So the thing is, the characters are okay. Like some of them have some pretty decent abilities, but their stats are quite low. We do have that event for getting the orbs for them, but it's complete RNG on the drops. So you could just be farming that stage for, you know, the entire time that the stage is out and still not get the best combination of orbs for them if you get bad RNG. So at the end of the day, the overall verdict when it comes to summon or skip on this banner, I do think that unless you are a collector, like it's probably in terms of the card quality themselves and whether you do your summons based on whether these units will be valuable to you for beating events and stuff like that. Like for those kind of people, I don't think these units are worth summoning on really at all. I think the only value in summoning for these units is for the novelty and for the collection purposes. Obviously, when we get like future little events, there are still events that we get that are of a low level difficulty, things like Infinite Dragon Ball History, even like the Seriously Serious battle, sometimes if you're not worrying about like the category missions and stuff like that, there will be events that come out that you could just have a bit of fun beating with the manga characters and it not be a huge deal. But in terms of beating very difficult content, I don't think they're worth summoning for. Obviously, we're expecting, even if it's just a little bit, we're probably going to get some form of anniversary power creep as well, which these guys, very much similarly to the heroes, as we've mentioned in this time slot, will just be even more outclassed by any upcoming level of power creep. So if you want these guys for your collection, because we don't know if they will ever come back again, then if you get good luck, you might literally just do 2 multis, and with your 6 guaranteed free copies, end up with a copy of each of them, and then that's 60 stones, and that's all you had to do to get 1 copy of each. Obviously, if you want to try and rainbow them, because they're potentially not going to come back, you're going to rely on RNG a little bit more. Like, even with heroes having that guaranteed featured with every multi, there were years where it took me over 1,000 stones to get the final copy of the very last unit that would not drop for some reason. But it kind of all depends, right? It's going to be very RNG reliant. So the overall verdict when it comes to summon or skip, I think for most people, these units will be a skip in terms of usability in game. But like I said, a lot of people will want to have them for their collection. And in that case, I would say if you're just having them in your box for the sake of the collection purposes, they don't need to be rainbowed. You could just try to get one copy of each, which, like I said, if you're lucky, you could literally do in 60 stones, and then 120 stones to get the guaranteed one copy with pity. You probably, in that 120 stones, almost guaranteed to get one copy of each. So it's kind of up to you whether you can spare 120 stones now, as of course, you know, there might still be something coming out towards the end of November. The anniversary is in like 3 months time or just less. So I think for a lot of people, it's probably an easy skip. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Are you someone who you will be getting a copy of each of these guys or even rainbowing them for the collection purposes? Or are you somebody who, because the units aren't going to be that useful in game for beating difficult events and stuff, you just really don't care? Or are you somebody who, you know, you would have been hyped for them, but you don't like the animation, so you don't care about summoning? Let me know all your guys' thoughts on these units down below in the comment section. I will be live tomorrow. I'll be live a couple of hours after the banner comes out, basically just for when all the new content comes out. I will do a couple of summons and we will go through all the new content on the stream, so hopefully I will see you guys there. But let me know what you think about the banner. Are you going to summon? Let me know down below. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.